What would you do if you know that you are going to turn up late for work? Think of an excuse? Prepare an apology? Or start a revolution, overthrow the oppressive system, establish your own dynasty, and build an empire that will be remembered as one of the golden ages of China? Well, if you are Liu Bang, the founder of the Han Dynasty, then there could only be one answer. Run the heck away! But unfortunately, luck and destiny conspired to keep this peasant-born small-town sheriff away from an idyllic life. And this is the story of how he lucked and conned his way upwards into becoming an emperor. Here is the background of the political situation of the time period. Before China was unified in the year 221 before Common Era, it was made up of a collection of disparate states. When Qin Huang, the first emperor of China, conquered them, he exterminated their royal families and incorporated those states into his empire under his central control. He standardized writing, currency, and measurement, improving the economy, and undertook great projects that left lasting marks in history. However, it all came at the cost of countless innocent lives. He was a totalitarian despot, but a highly functional one. He kept a tight leash over his conquered land by frequently visiting them on his grand inspection tours. Cheer! That's how a great man should be! That's what Liu Bang exclaimed when he saw the imperial convoy while serving as a corvée laborer. Wow! Back to work, laborer! Okay. Meanwhile, on the other side of the empire, a completely different sentiment emanated from a young man with an impressive build. One day, I will replace him. Shush! Be quiet! You will get us all killed! That young man was Xiang Yu, the man who will one day be the arch-nemesis of Liu Bang. Heroic, impulsive, and proud. Xiang Yu is the diametric opposite of Liu Bang in every way possible. His aristocratic clan had served as generals for the state of Chu for many generations, and the destruction of the Chu royal family and his clan fueled his obsessive hatred for everything Qin. Yet, to his uncle Xiang Liang's dismay, his drive for vengeance did not carry over to his study of reading, writing, and swordplay. I can write my own name, that's enough. With swordplay, I can only fight one man. But what he said next lit his uncle up. I want to learn how to fight 10,000. So his elated uncle taught him the art of war. Liu Bang, on the other hand, was a peasant-born small-town scoundrel from Pei County who had boundless charisma and a gift for making friends. One time, he came across an exclusive party with a 1,000-coin entry fee. He was able to bluff his way in by saying, I'll pledge 10,000 coins! And once he is in, he not only charmed his way out of paying the pledge, he even impressed the host so much, the host married his daughter off to him. So it is not a surprise that a street rat like him could somehow become the town sheriff. Yet he knew that he was destined for something greater. How did he know? Well, that was an omen. One day, when his mother was sleeping, suddenly the sky turned dark. Thunder crashed, lightning flashed, and the next thing they saw was a dragon that appeared next to her. Not long after that incident, she was found to be pregnant with him. If that wasn't a sign, then I don't know what it is. Well, it could be bull. Even if it is true, then it means that you're an illegitimate child. Ha ha! Shut up, Yongzi! I haven't got time for you. I need to deliver these convict laborers to work on Qin Huang's mausoleum. Well, sometimes even his godly charms doesn't work, especially on village a-holes like Yongzi. On 209 BCE, 1 year after the death of Qin Huang, his successor, Hu Hai, decreed that all counties must send their criminals to work on the mausoleum. But under the harsh rule of Qin's legalist ideology, almost anything can be considered a crime, and the punishment is always excessive. For example, if Liu Bang was even late on his delivery, he would be put to death along with the other convicts. And imagine what would happen to him if most of his prisoners escaped. I'm dead. If he reported that his prisoners escaped, he would be executed. And if he was late because he had to recapture them, the result would be the same anyway. So in the end, he just gave up. He started drinking and let the other prisoners go. 10 of them were so grateful to him, they decided to stay. To evade the authorities, they decided to hide in the wilderness of Mount Mangtang. But along the way, the scout reported that there was a huge white snake before their path. What? What the heck is a white snake doing in the middle of nowhere? Let me at it! Fueled by alcoholic rage, Liu Bang charged at the snake and cleaved it into two. The next morning, a passerby saw a crazy old woman crying next to the snake, uttering complete gibberish. She claimed that the snake was her son and the son of the White Emperor, who was killed by the son of the Red Emperor. When the passerby chanced upon Liu Bang's group and told them what he encountered, Liu Bang immediately chimed in. I know what it means! The son of the White Emperor means the Qin Empire. But the official color of the Qin Empire is black. White, black, what's the difference? They're all colors. And the son of the Red Emperor must be me. Whoa, my favorite color is red. It's an omen, guys. We have to start a rebellion and overthrow the empire. We're gonna win. Yeah. And on that year, 209 BCE, a rebellion against Qin was started because a group of people were going to be late for work by Chen Sheng and Wu Guang. What? They stole my idea and they're even more successful than me. Chen Sheng and Wu Guang were in a similar predicament to Liu Bang, but their uprising was far more successful than his. They revived the former 5 states, and Chen Sheng claimed the throne of Chu for himself. Soon, other uprisings started to spring all across China, and local governors installed by the Qin central government was overthrown one by one. To the east, Xiang Liang and his nephew Xiang Yu took the opportunity to secure the Wu region of Chu, and he personally killed over 100 of the governor's men during the coup. Then they raised an army of 8,000 warriors, and these men became his closest comrades until the end of their lives. With the help of his best friend Xiao He, Liu Bang also succeeded to overthrow the local governor. But now, seeing the chaos everywhere, he is starting to get cold feet and refused to become the new governor. It was too much responsibility. Not even Xiao He and his friends could get him to change his mind. So they settled this by divination, and when his name came up, he realized that he couldn't escape his destiny. To be honest, this kind of feigned refusal is a very popular charade used by leaders to bolster their followers' loyalty throughout Chinese history. So this event could just be one of Liu Bang's tricks again. Anyway, after this event, he raised the red flag and banners of the Red Emperor and gathered an army of 3,000. He also recruited Xiao He, his best buddy, Fan Kui, his brother-in-law, and all his other buddies to his cause. He even extended an olive branch to that a-hole Yongci by inviting him. It was an act he quickly regretted because he was backstabbed in record time, as the ungrateful snake locked him out of a city they conquered not long after the start of his campaign. You will pay for that! So Liu Bang requested help from the new king of Chu to teach his old enemy Yongci a lesson. Chen Sheng's ragtag band of rebels were too disorganized and was no match for the professionally led Qin army. Chen Sheng's campaign to the capital of Qin, Xianyang, was quickly crushed by the professional Qin general Zhang Han, and Chen Sheng himself was killed in action. So Liu Bang was on his way to meet the replacement. But this detour proved to be a godsend to Liu Bang because along the way he met Zhang Liang, a brilliant strategist who was also famous for his failed assassination attempt on Qin Shi Huang. They quickly hit it off, and impressed with Liu Bang as a person, he joined his cause, but only until he could revive the former state of Han, because he belonged to an aristocratic family of the state. In 208 BCE, while Liu Bang was working for the new king of Chu fending off the Qin army, Xiang Liang's force moved west. Now that it had grown to tens of thousands, they easily defeated the king of Chu and installed their own puppet king, King Huai. Returning from his assignment, Liu Bang was surprised to find that he had a new master. But seeing that they are eager to incorporate his force, he took the opportunity to make a teensy tiny request. So there is this a-hole called Yongci, yeah? Let me tell you what he did. Borrowing the power of Xiang Liang's army, Liu Bang smashed Yongci's force and retook the city. But unfortunately, his old nemesis escaped to Wei. Well, at least Liu Bang got some semblance of revenge. But this episode demonstrated to them that Liu Bang was a petty man with small ambition, so they felt safe to have him around. During this period, Zhang Liang left Liu Bang to help the new king of Han recover his kingdom. But he had grown attached to Liu Bang, who he now considered to be his true master, and promised to return as soon as possible. With Zhang Liang gone, Liu Bang continued to work under Xiang Liang, along with Xiang Yu. And once again, his godly charms worked its magic on the impressionable young man. Xiang Yu grew to like Liu Bang so much they became sworn brothers. Liu Bang, being the older one, became the elder brother. Together, they brought the fight to the Qin general Zhang Han, who had besieged the city of Dong'e and defeated him. As Zhang Han's remaining force retreated westward, Xiang Liang, who carelessly broke away to pursue him, was caught in an ambush and killed. The main Chu force under him was also annihilated. After receiving the news of the death of his uncle, Xiang Yu was overcome with grief, and he swore bloody vengeance on Zhang Han. And this was the prelude to the decisive battle of Julu, the battle that marked the collapse of Qin. After regrouping, the Chu rebel coalition agreed that it was imperative to strike Qin right in its heart, the capital Xianyang. Otherwise, they will keep returning with more and more troops, led by professional generals like Zhang Han. If they don't do anything, it is a matter of time that Qin will eventually win. So they asked for volunteers for this critical mission. As reward, King Huai of Chu promised that the first general to enter the capital would be made the king of the Guangzhong region, which included the capital of Qin. Even with the promise of such tantalizing reward, among the many gathered rebel generals, only 2 were brave enough to step forward. And you guessed it, they were Liu Bang and Xiang Yu. But before a quarrel could start, a messenger brought in an urgent news. Zhang Han had returned, this time with a colossal army of 200,000 men, and he had besieged the city of Julu. The king of Zhao urgently needed help. Consumed by burning hatred for Zhang Han, Xiang Yu immediately turned his attention to his sworn enemy. But fearing that Xiang Yu was going to act impulsively, he was made second in command under another general. And so, Liu Bang and Xiang Yu went their separate ways. When the rebel army from various states approached Julu, they were struck by the sheer size of the Qin army besieging the city, and nobody dared to cross the Yellow River and enter the fray. Even with the combined power of other rebel groups from other states, their number was nowhere near Zhang Han's. So all they did was watch from the distance. Xiang Yu, disgusted by their cowardice, became increasingly exasperated. Meanwhile, Liu Bang and his smaller army was taking detours along the way to Xianyang. On the road, he discovered the scattered army of Xiang Liang and collaborators who were willing to assist him. He also scored quite an impressive victory against Wang Li's army and sent him northwards to Zhang Han, bolstering his number and exacerbating the rebel forces' situation. He was even reunited with Zhang Liang, who came to his rescue in a skirmish. By 207 BCE, back at Xiang Yu's side, after enduring 46 frustrating days of non-action, he finally snapped. He killed his commander and assumed direct control. The puppet king Huai was unable to object. So without the support from other rebel groups, Xiang Yu decided to launch an assault with his own army. He ordered his 2 generals to cross the river with their army of 20,000 first, before doing the same himself. Once he had crossed the river, he ordered his soldiers to smash their cooking pots and sink their boats. And his men were only allowed to carry 3 days' worth of rations. So they were left with no other choice but to win. This event was later turned into a Chinese idiom, breaking the pots and sinking the boats, which meant reaching a point of no return, which also had similar meaning to crossing the Rubicon. So with his men pushed to desperation, Xiang Yu and his army fought like demons. It was said that each of them could take on 10 Qin soldiers, and defying all odds, they obliterated a good portion of the much larger Qin army. By the end of the battle, Julu was liberated, and Zhang Han and the remainder of his men was forced to hole up in a nearby city. Whoa! After witnessing this miraculous victory, the rebel leaders who were too scared to join the fight quickly rushed to Xiang Yu's camp. And as soon as they saw him, the awestruck rebels fell to their knees and made him the supreme commander of their combined army. Meanwhile, a series of intrigues and coups had thrown the Qin court into chaos. Cao Cao, the corrupt eunuch who held the real power, refused to provide reinforcement for Zhang Han because he suspected that he was planning his own rebellion. So in the end, Zhang Han had no choice but to surrender to Xiang Yu's force, and his remaining 200,000 soldiers became prisoners of war. Fearing blame for his mistake, Cao Cao killed the current emperor before he could be punished. In turn, he was murdered by the puppet ruler he installed. So when Liu Bang entered the gate of Xianyang, he was presented with a kingdom on a silver platter, as the new ruler of Qin decided to surrender without a fight. Lucky! As according to King Huai's promise, it is only a matter of time that he is announced the king of Guangzhong. As for his first display of magnanimity, he forbade his soldiers from looting and upheld the law and order of the city. Think about it. If he let people loot, he is practically letting them steal his stuff, since this is his city now. But while he basked in the opulence of the imperial capital of Qin and enjoyed its luxury, a few hundred miles away, Xiang Yu caught wind of Liu Bang's entry into Xianyang. As he barreled down the road to the capital, he couldn't help but feel betrayed, because he was the one who made the most sacrifice in this war and shed the most blood. Now, these two sworn brothers are set on a devastating collision course that will change the history of China forever. So if you want to know what happens next, then you should subscribe to the channel and press the bell button so that you won't miss the second part of the Liu Bang and Xiang Yu story. As usual, like, comment and share the video if you have been entertained by it. And until next time, stay cool my bros.